Hello, everybody. Good evening. Ken Graham here. Some of you may know me, some of you may not, but Ken Graham, travel advisor, and my company is Travel Only with Ken. And tonight I am joined by Ian Kivell of HX Expeditions. Welcome, Ian.
Thank you. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming to learn a little bit about Expedition and HX.
Great, and thanks for joining me tonight, Ian. So, tonight we're going to talk about Antarctica. So, Antarctica is known as the frozen continent or the seventh continent. We're going to discuss a little bit and look at why would you want to go to Antarctica? Many people that I talk to as a travel advisor have been to six of our continents, and then there's this elusive seventh continent, Antarctica. A lot of people don't really know, how do I get there? What am I going to see when I get there? So we have been there. So some of tonight's presentation is going to be my personal experience in Antarctica, and some of it is going to be Ian talking to you about the HX fleet, talking to you about the cabins, the restaurants, the food, and then we'll talk a little bit about the pricing and some pricing specials that are going on right now. So let's get started. So a little bit about my story or our story and Antarctica. So we are very avid travelers, and we've done cruises in the Caribbean, Panama Canal, Southeast Asia, Mediterranean, a lot of European river cruises, but we're always looking for some kind of new adventure. And so we started looking around and thought expedition cruising, Antarctica. We had friends that did Antarctica and they talked very highly of it. So we started to look into it. We started researching probably around 2018. And then the dreaded pandemic hit. We actually booked our Antarctica trip in November of 2020, but we booked it for 2 years out, hoping that the pandemic would be over by then. And it was to a point where we could travel. So we actually traveled in December of 2022. What I'd like to say about Antarctica is there are limited sailings to Antarctica with HX because you can only sail to Antarctica during their summer, which runs November-ish, mid-November through to March. So there's limited time that you can go there, limited sailings, which means limited cabins. So what you really want to look at, you don't need to book 2 years in advance like I did, but it's not the kind of cruise that you book 6 or 8 weeks or even 3 months in advance. You really should be looking at probably 12 months in advance. There is some availability, I know, in January of this year with HX because I was recently looking for another client. But this is the prime time now, really, to start booking for November, December of 2026 and January of 2027. This is the journey that we took with HX. This is known as Highlights of Antarctica, and it's a 12-day journey. So we flew from Toronto to Buenos Aires. And HX collects a large group of people in Buenos Aires, and we stay as part of the cruise package. We stay overnight in a hotel in Buenos Aires. They collect us there, and then the next day they charter us down to the southernmost point of Argentina, which is Ushuaia. Ushuaia is also fondly known as the end of the world. And I'm not including it in tonight's presentation, but I do have a picture of myself and my husband in front of this sign indicating that we are at the end of the world. And here in Ushuaia is where you board the HX expedition ship, and then you sail through the Drake Passage and to the Antarctic Peninsula. And this is a 12-day voyage, including the time in Buenos Aires. So that is the trip that we took. There is also this particular itinerary that includes the Falkland Islands as well. This adds about 3 days to your journey. And then there are several other versions of this that you can look at. But we did, as I said, the highlights, which was 12 days. I think this is 15, maybe a day or two more than that. So what I'm about to do, I'm about to play a video for you which is my and our experience in Antarctica, some of the clips that we experienced.
Welcome back.
So that's a little bit of our experience. And I do want to say there is a Q&A tab on here. If you have any questions during the presentation, please pop them into the question and answer tab and we'll answer those. We'll address those at the end of the presentation. So this 2-minute video, we tried to put together just a few of experiences to give you a feel. So that was my finger dragging in the water, and I think the water at that time was right at 0 degrees or just slightly above, so it wasn't freezing there. That was me snowshoeing and me climbing into the kayak. Then out in the kayaks, we had an absolutely stunning weather day that day. The sun was shining, there was no wind, and we sat there quietly. There wasn't a sound in the world. And we watched this female humpback whale feeding and just going back and forth across the water in front of us and the tail cresting. The penguins are that up close and personal with you. The one of the scenes was there was sort of a path worn in the snow. Those are known as penguin highways, and we were instructed by our expedition team that if a penguin is walking towards you and you're on the penguin highway, we get out of the way. They have the right of way. They will walk right up to you and just stare at you. There's no risk or no danger from them, but you can't touch them either. So you stand back. If they walk towards you, you move back a little bit, but they are literally within a foot or two of you, and you can walk up to these colonies. If you are interested in viewing more, visit my YouTube channel, which is Travel Only with Ken. We have 3 episodes now of our adventures in Antarctica, and there are 2 more episodes that will be coming. So on the screen now, I know it's small for you to see, but this is just, and I will send this out at your request afterwards. This is just a month-by-month travel guide to Antarctica. So the months of the year that you can travel, it's showing it probably starts late October, but the prime months are November through to March. And then the temperatures. So we went end of December into middle of January. And the temperature showing there is -2 to +2, of course, in Celsius. And if anybody's on the call tonight from central Canada, you recognize that -2 to +2 is a fairly mild winter day for us. So we went with probably a little bit too much clothing, and each day we sort of scaled back the layers that we were wearing. You will be issued an outerwear coat from HX Expeditions that's windproof and water resistant and waterproof, but we had all kinds of other layers that we were wearing as well because we anticipated the cold, but we didn't need as much. But that can depend on when you go because in October it can be quite a bit colder. This next slide is what you will expect with wildlife. So in January, end of December to January, you're getting most all of the wildlife that there is to see. The only thing that you might want to look at more closely is for penguins. So November is courtship, December to January is the chicks. So we did see the chicks. By February, they're leaving the nest, so you're not going to see as many of the penguin chicks. So that's something to consider as well. So with that, again, please put questions that you might have about this, anything about Antarctica in the question box. But I'm going to pass over to Ian and stop sharing. And Ian, you can take over the share.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for coming, like I said earlier, to learn a little bit more about expedition cruising and HX expeditions in particular. My name's Ian and I work for HX, where we want to change the way you see the world. Now, if you're not yet familiar with HX, as we've been talking about, we are an expedition cruise company. And expedition cruise in a nutshell is small ships going far places. And so as a company, aside from that, who we are, how are we different? It's all on the screen right now. So, firstly, experts in expedition since 1896. That's talking about when we were born. We started expedition cruise travel almost 130 years ago. Next year, we will be 130. Our first expedition was in Norway, so we're originally a Norwegian company, and we're currently headquartered in London, in England, in the UK. So we are the world's oldest expedition company and also the largest. So more passengers trust HX with their expedition style cruising than any other company. The second point there, made for curious travelers, that's talking about our science and education program. A huge, huge focus of what we do. There are 5 ships in the fleet, in our fleet, and each ship has a science center on board. And the science center has bones and books and fossils and microscopes and a whole team of scientists on board as part of the HX crew to tell you what it all means. Now, the reason it's up here as something that makes us stand out as a company is because we are the proud recipient of the Cruise Critic Choice Award for Best Science Program. So number one, oldest, number two, best in science. And number three, leaders in mindful adventure. You saw in those beautiful images and videos of Ken's video that we're going to places that are very pristine and delicate and fragile. So we have to make sure that we're going there responsibly. So our fleet, it is the most sustainable expedition fleet in the world. And also 2 of our ships, I mentioned there is 5, 2 of those ships are hybrid battery powered ships. They're almost identical, so we call them the twin sister ships. They are each hybrid battery powered and they each won the world's most sustainable cruise ship award. So across ocean, river, and expedition cruising. So every cruise ship in the world you can think of, the most sustainable ones are in our fleet. So sort of as an overview, that's who HX is. Something else important to know about us is that we are all inclusive. So what does that include specifically is on the screen here. You've got meals all day, you've got your drinks all day, every day that's alcoholic and non-alcoholic, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Your coffee, tea, and soft drinks are included, saunas and hot tubs, and gratuities as are all included in the cost of the cruise that you pay up front. On the bottom row, you've got your daily expedition excursions, and that is what was taking place in the picture before. So if you're in one of those, as we call them, zodiacs, these smaller outboard motorboats, if you're in that kind of zodiac, the excursion is included. So you've got 1 or 2 landings a day, depending, or excursions a day, depending on the weather. And as I mentioned, an inclusion. Everybody gets a jacket issued to them that they can use throughout the trip, and they bring home with them after the trip is done. The Science Center I mentioned already, Starlink Wi-Fi across the fleet, and a professional photographer on board as well. And that photographer is taking pictures, very, very high quality, like documentary style pictures of the wildlife of the destination and the guest and their experience, if that's okay with them. And then after the sailing, maybe 2, 3 weeks after, you get a link to all of the pictures that that photographer took. So all of these things, as I mentioned, included in the cost of the cruise. So I did mention we have 5 ships in the fleet, but today we're here to talk about Antarctica. And so 3 of our ships go to Antarctica. The 2 twin sister ships I mentioned, hybrid battery powered ones, those are on the left, Roald Amundsen and Fridtjof Nansen. Within our fleet, they're the largest. They can hold up to 490 passengers. The one on the right, MS From, again, within our fleet, it's one of our mid-sized ships, and that ship can hold up to 250 passengers. So those are the 3 that would visit Antarctica. As Ken mentioned, it is a seasonal destination. You can only go there during their summer, November to March, and then those same ships will reposition, take about a month to go up to the Arctic, and then they do the Arctic for our summer. On board the ships, depending on which of those ships you're looking at, you might have all 3 restaurants or you might have just 2. So these restaurants are Auna, Fredheim, and Lindstrom. Auna is the main dining room. That's where you'll have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. It's a really nice blend of different styles of food. Originally Scandinavian company, as I mentioned. So you've got a lot of bread and cheese and cured fish and things like that for breakfast. But also you've got what we might be used to, the bacon and the eggs and the omelet station and everything else and fresh fruits and so on. That's all at Auna. Fredheim is the casual dining restaurant during the day. That's where you're going to get burgers and fries and milkshakes and salads and so on. But at nighttime, it becomes a more international restaurant. At nighttime, you'll have Italian night and then French night and Filipino night and Indian night. And it kind of rotates in that sense. Lindstrom is the specialty dining restaurant. Lindstrom is included for guests who are staying in suite level cabins, if you're staying in a suite. If you're not staying in a suite, it's an additional charge. And that charge right now is 35 euros for dinner. But taking a look at the ship itself, you've got a couple pictures that I wanted to show. This one is the MA category suite. So this is not a public area or a library or lounge or something. This is one of our suites for guests. And as you can see, very bright and spacious and welcoming, but also warm and kind of, again, very Norwegian or Scandinavian type of design with your fireplace there. Nice to warm up next to after you've been out on one of those excursions. This is another suite, the MC category. So your private hot tub on your private balcony. Again, just imagine yourself in this balcony, in that hot tub. You've got your glass of wine or a nice cup of coffee or something, and you're looking out and you see humpback whales breaching, you see penguin colonies, you see an iceberg float by. It's absolutely spectacular. And now is probably a good time to mention that it might be a little bit more elevated of an experience than you're expecting to see. So, in the world of cruise in general, but also expedition, you've got a scale of luxury that goes kind of from basic to luxury. We're not quite at the extreme luxury end, but I call it premium. We're just under the luxury category. And it's because we don't have butler service, we don't have dress codes, we don't have formal nights or anything like that. It's much, much more laid back, but visibly you can see it's still an elevated, very premium, very comfortable kind of experience. And I'll leave you with a map, and this map shows a light blue line in the waters, and that light blue line represents where we go. I already mentioned we do Antarctica and the Arctic. We also do Galapagos as a fun fact. So that's it for me. Let's turn it back over to Ken and see if there might be any questions.
Great. A couple of comments that I wanted to make. So the photographer picks in our videos on our YouTube channel, some of the bird pics and especially the flying pics are not ours. They came from the photographer on the ship. Because this photographer has these massive long zoom lenses and was able to snap these pictures. We weren't able to get some of those type of photographs. So but you've got all these you witnessed and saw all these things, so it's not you're stealing somebody else's pictures, but it's not like you didn't witness it or see it. What Ian says about the comfort of the ship, we were a little bit impressed because we weren't expecting as much as we got. The decor of the ship is very Scandinavian, very sort of Nordic, but it's very comfortable and extremely comfortable. And I'd even push it to the highest end of premium to entry level luxury. Our cabin was extremely comfortable. We were in a basic cabin. I think they call it XT Superior or something like that. But it was a sort of standard cabin with a balcony, and it was very, very comfortable. The food, buffet for breakfast and lunch, and that food was outstanding. Every day in the main restaurant, every day the selection was different. Breakfast is a little bit more standard daily, but the lunch every day was different, and the food was really spectacular. And dinner is a menu, a la carte menu, and served. Dress codes, that's an interesting one because our first excursion, when you saw that sort of mountain climbing in the video, that we did at 8 o'clock at night. So we went to dinner dressed to go out to the excursion. So you just dress however you're going to dress. And if you're coming back from an excursion and it's lunchtime, you're just wearing whatever you're wearing. And nobody cares because everybody's in that. So it's a very casual. The Science Center, amazing, amazing thing to experience as well. So just some comments that I wanted to make on top of that. So, Ian, there have been a few questions come through. So, the first one is what's the average age of people that are on your ships in Antarctica?
Average age in Antarctica broadly is 55 to 75. Exactly, it's 64, which I
Okay.
think, generally speaking, from what I hear, is a bit older than people expect. And it's because the physicality of the trips it's a bit more approachable than many people might realize.
Okay. And that's interesting too, because it's I would always coach somebody that they need to be able to, you have to consider that you're getting in and out of a Zodiac boat, but you have an expedition team on shore that there's probably four people at embarkation of the Zodiac and debarkation of the Zodiac that are helping you. You're not doing that alone. So there's lots of help to get you in and out because everybody struggles with that. It's not something we do every day. So that's the average age. I saw quite a number of kids on the ships as well, on our journey as well. What's your youngest age that can go?
For Antarctica, it's 5.
5. Okay,
Yeah.
good. And this next question, we've kind of covered it, but do I need to be very active to be able to enjoy this trip?
I wouldn't say very active. No, to be honest, I'm not a very active person in my everyday life, and I manage just fine. No, the excursions themselves, they can be physically demanding. Sometimes it's a hike up a mountain, like you showed as you were zigzagging up that mountain. But the thing is, that's optional. You don't have to do the whole thing. You can go halfway and turn back if that's all you can do. Or you can go in the Zodiac, leave the Zodiac, and stay right at that landing site because, like you say, there's a team of people there from the expedition team who are there to entertain you right there at the landing site, and that usually has a couple scientists in that group as well.
Right.
And then the ships themselves, they're accessible. They have elevators, except in Galapagos. The ship is a bit too small for an elevator, but otherwise the ships themselves are accessible as well.
Right. And I would say that there were several landing sites that we approached that there were penguin colonies right there at the landing site. So literally, you're getting out of the Zodiac and 5 steps, and you're standing in front of a penguin colony. So it's not like you have to hike up that hill to see penguins. You will see them on the flat. And many of the landing sites and the hikes were on flat surface. You're not just always climbing a hill. Another is asking, do what about clothing? Do I need to pack waterproof pants? I'll field that one. We looked at this and studied this and researched this, and we went with water resistant pants. The only thing I'm going to say that you need water resistance for, you've got the coat that HX supplies you, which is water resistant, is a little bit of splash that might come when you're in the Zodiac if you hit a wave or two. But, are you going to get soaked? No. But Ian, this one's for you. What about solo travelers? Do they pay more, or what's the deal with solo travelers?
Right. So solos, they're depending on the destination. There is a solo supplement charge that ranges between 25 to 55%, just depending on which area of the world we're looking at. However, if you book in advance, there's a list that's routinely updated of sailings that have no single supplement charge. And right now, the August list, as it's August as we speak, that list has sailings up to March of next year, March of 2026, that have no solo supplement rates. But every month we add more and we revise that list. So I would say if you are a solo traveler looking to avoid the solo supplement, which is understandable, get in touch with Ken, who has access to that list.
Excellent. There's a question about what type of wildlife and penguins that you'll see. So we saw humpback whales, minke whales. We saw 3 types of penguins: Adelie, chinstrap, and gentoo penguins. Those are the most common in the Antarctica Peninsula. And we did see some seals, 2 or 3 seals laying on the shore. They weren't plentiful, but we did see seals. So we saw penguins on the land, but we also saw, and I don't know what they call them, forgive me on this one, but groups of penguins swimming together and fishing together. So there's probably a name for a group of penguins together, but we saw that as well. And if there are whales, they'll announce that there are whales off of the port bow or the starboard bow, so you'll get an announcement about that. And then the looks like we're just about through the questions. The final one is what kind of excursions do I have the opportunity to experience? So the ones in the Zodiac, so the basic landing to land each day, or a Zodiac boat ride around some of the icebergs and ice flows, those are included. What can be extra is if you want to do the snowshoeing, the kayaking, camping. There's also the science boat. There's a science trip that you can go on. So those are an extra cost, and you sign up for those, and it's a bit of a lottery system. We got everything we wanted, but not everybody does get everything that they want. So those are additional. That's all the questions that we have. Ian, if you can just give a little bit about the pricing special that's on now until August 31st, and then we'll close out for today.
Yeah, absolutely. So to celebrate that we're turning 130, we're starting the celebrations early because we don't turn 130 until next year, but it's a big one. So we're celebrating now. And so from now till the end of August, if you book on three of the ships, the three that go to Antarctica, if you book an Arctic Superior cabin, which is the cabin you were in, Ken, you'd get a suite upgrade for free. And the other two ships, it's up to 35% off. So just depending which ships and it comes with different sorts of promotions. And I'm gonna take a guess. I could be way off, but I want to call a group of penguins a tuxedo of penguins.
Okay.
I don't know if that's accurate, but I'm gonna just put that out there as an option.
It, it sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna challenge you on that, but I am gonna look it up after this and see. But yeah, I think that and I think I'm just gonna add that we looked at there are a number of different cruise lines that do Antarctica. And we did HX and we had the best time. I have to say that we were so impressed with the expedition teams, the knowledge, the expertise, the help they gave, and everything about them. That's what the trip was all about, was the expedition side of it and getting on the continent and doing the kayaking, doing all these things. And HX is outstanding with this. And we ended up choosing them because of their history. They are the ones that have been doing this the longest, and that's why we chose them. We had an excellent experience, and that's why I'm promoting HX at this point and working with Ian. So, with that, I don't see any more open questions that have come in. So, Ian, thank you very much for your time tonight, and everybody that joined us, thank you so much. And, hope to hear from you. And if you have any questions whatsoever about this, want to learn more about Antarctica, give me a call, send me an email. Let's get in touch. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks
Have a
so
good
much.
evening. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye now.